Water is the source of life for every living thing, whether plant or animal. And it is also the focus of this week's program. So welcome to Eco Africa. I am Sandra Twinodio, coming to you from Kampala, right here in Uganda.
Hey Sandra, it's great to be here with you once again. As you can see, it's a beautiful day here in Ogun State. I am Chris Elems, and here's what's coming up on today's program. Swimming to increase climate awareness in Ghana. Fitting boats with electric motors in Kenya. And using a printer to produce food. Stay tuned to find out how. More than a quarter of all Ghanaians live on the coast. So protecting water there is of vital importance. But not just coastal waters, inland waters too. Our reporter in Ghana went to learn more about how local activists are raising awareness.
Tata has put on her custom-made recycled swimsuit and is ready to swim another 11 kilometers. It's a distance she'll cover every day for 40 days. And that's an overall route of 450 kilometers, passing along the Volta River and into Lake Volta, the world's largest artificial reservoir. It's one of the few lakes in Ghana that is still clean enough to swim in. An activist and agribusiness entrepreneur, Tete is part of a scientific expedition that's seeking to draw attention to the pollution of Ghana's waterways.
So much of the reason that I'm part of this expedition and working with the crew to do this research is because it is so encouraging and so amazing to be able to swim in the Volta River like this. And I'd love to see other water bodies in Ghana, and specifically Accra, be this swimmable again.
Tete started campaigning against environmental pollution some 8 years ago. And that's when she came into contact with the Oil Foundation, an environmental justice non-profit that organized the expedition. Other members of the team also spent time on the water to take samples from various points along the route.
We've collected some water samples, and with this tool we get some data about temperature, pH.
On a purpose-built solar-powered boat, the samples are analyzed in a small lab. Abba is looking especially for microfibers of textiles, but that's not the only thing.
Here we can see that the color is very different from the rest of the water that we've been swimming along. So here is very green. It really changes. I mean, it depends on the places where we are. If we are close to villages, for example, we will be collecting some samples for bacteriological tests. If we are close to factories or industrial areas, we'll be checking for heavy metals, for example.
Like here, near the village of Bata, which now has a number of industrial sites like the sand mine, the pollution it creates has had a devastating impact on the local fishing industry. The area used to have lots of fish.
All the fish are gone. The sand mining in the lake has destroyed our livelihoods. We are fishermen. That's how we make a living. But now we even struggle to find enough fish to eat ourselves.
The mining industry is not only harming the environment, it also makes the process of purifying drinking water much more expensive.
You are abstracting water with huge amount of sediment, and so the pumps will generally be breaking down more often than you anticipate. So cost of maintenance of these pumps also goes up. And at the end of the day, the two of us will have to also pay back through our water, domestic water we use.
And that's just one problem. Chemicals and waste from households and other industries also contaminate the water, along with many of 15 million items of second-hand clothing sent to Ghana every week. Over 50% of it ends up in huge waste heaps in Accra's lagoon. Hundreds of water samples have been analyzed by the foundation.
Everywhere we sample, we see some degree of pollution. In some places, of course, it's better than others. But what our goal is with this research is to really drive toward action so that the level of pollution we see here in Accra does not spread and replicate in other areas of the country, and we can find pathways to clean up the pollution that's here in Accra.
The O Foundation is lobbying the government, but also wants to raise public awareness of just how harmful the waste is. The imported clothing waste in particular.
So many people don't even understand that we have secondhand clothing coming from the global north to the global south, or that there are other issues that are affecting the quality of our water. So what we want to do is really hope to bring attention and awareness to the quality of the water and to the issues that are at play here to get people involved.
This was Yvette Tete's first swimming campaign. She's feeling tired but optimistic that one day even the lagoon in Accra will once again be clean enough to swim in.
As temperatures rise and sources dry up, more and more communities around the world are left without access to clean water. That's why scientists and NGOs are working hard to find solutions. Fog harvesting in areas where fog is common could provide much needed relief. Let's find out how they do it in Spain.
The humidity they bring is a treasure. Clouds of fog shroud the mountains of Spain's Gran Canaria. At a time of increasing drought and water scarcity, every drop of water in them is a blessing. Here, as many as possible of these drops are being captured in nets. Monitoring the process is the job of Saúl Oliva Cabreras. Even when there is no fog, the environmental technician has work to do. 15 collectors were installed here 2 years ago. It's a fairly simple system which requires a fog location and a bit of wind. When fog moisture or raindrops accumulate on the mesh, the water drips down into a tank and then flows directly into storage units at different locations downhill via a multitude of hoses.
With the collectors that we have here, we could catch 300,000 liters of water per year, according to the manufacturer. To date, we have captured 45,000 liters. We are, of course, dependent on the weather. There are years when I can catch much more, and others when it will be less. Our goal is to reach 250,000 liters per year. To achieve that, we can't rely solely on this traditional model, but we'll also use newer designs that may be able to harvest even more water.
Oliva Cabreras and the team of environmental experts he works with need more water for 20,000 new trees. Only a few minutes' drive from the fog collectors, they are restoring an area that was ravaged by flames in 2019. Different restoration projects are in full swing across the area, including on this hillside, where 35 hectares are being revived to tackle desertification. Rising global temperatures make Spain's Canary Islands increasingly vulnerable to drought and fires. Still fragile, new tree seedlings are bedded in a biodegradable cocoon. It ensures that the water that was harvested from the collectors won't evaporate too quickly and boosts the tree's survival rate. Natalia Marrero Avila leads the team here. To her, this project is more than just a job.
I live close by. I saw the first cloud of smoke from the wildfire and kept my suitcases in the car waiting to be evacuated. In the end, it wasn't necessary. But at least now I have the opportunity to restore the affected area. The island is part of me, but this place in particular, it's in my heart.
The team have already planted half of the trees for the Live Nieblas project, which has received millions of euros in financing from the local government and EU. The deposits of fog water are currently emptied manually, but researchers are trialing a storage system that releases the water autonomously into areas where it is needed. They have observed that the system has already improved soil moisture in areas where they planted new trees. It's all thanks to fog created by the coastal climate and clouds ascending to the cooler mountain region. For farmer Germán Cardona, the fog catchers could be a game changer. His land is in walking distance of the collectors. He lost up to 10 hectares of pear, apple and nut trees in the 2019 fire of Gran Canaria. Fast-growing ferns have now taken over what was once an orchard.
The fire burnt everything to the ground. Nothing was left, only charred soil.
This year, though, he planted again apple trees, and during the hot, dry months, his neighbors from Live Nieblas supplied water. In the past, Germán Cardona was dependent on rainfalls.
Every year the summers get longer and it rains less. It rains less in winter too, and it's more difficult to maintain everything. Because without water, nothing works. That's why the fog water is genius. It's the solution. Because here we don't have any way of watering. There's no irrigation system, and there are no wells. There's no water. There's only rain and fog catchers.
In preparation for the hot summers, he wants to install his own fog collectors to make the most of a resource that is right within reach. In the face of the deepening climate crisis, it is not clear how reliable fog events will be, but once the new trees are bigger, they will at least stabilize the local climate and protect somewhat against heat and desertification.
In the long run, we will remove the collectors because the reforested area will at some point take on the work of harvesting humidity. That's how forests work. They capture the humidity and store it in the soil.
For Saúl Oliva Cabreras and the team, every tree matters. Gran Canaria is counting on its fog collectors to help heal the wounds of the devastating wildfire and safeguard the island against future disaster.
Wow, that is amazing and a great example of producing sizable results with minimal efforts. Our next report takes us to the largest body of water in Africa, Lake Victoria, which is shared by Tanzania, Uganda and Kenya, stretching nearly 340 kilometers from north to south. The lake is essential to the lives of millions of people.
That's true, Chris, and a lot of them are fishermen. But unfortunately, most boats are equipped with diesel motors, which pollute the water. Could they go electric? We took a ride on an e-boat on Lake Victoria in Kenya.
As dusk falls, Jared Otieno heads out onto Lake Victoria. Since he started using an electric motor, he and his team no longer have to breathe in exhaust fumes. And it's not as noisy either. Otieno is one of the few fishermen here who started using an electric motor last year. It's much easier. Before, he was constantly having to change gears.
Also, you have to be careful with the propeller turbine. So when it rotates, it might or may get contact with the manila, this string, or the gear. So removing it will come cumbersome. With this one, you just do just automatic, that come out automatic.
He only has the electric motor and batteries on loan from a company called Osobo. Every morning he returns the used batteries, and in the evening he receives a freshly charged set. Osobo rents out the e-motors for the equivalent of around €38 a month. The batteries cost €7.50 per day. The Dutch startup Osobo had to do a lot of math to develop this business model. They source the batteries and motors from Germany. Here in Kenya, they have technicians who take care of the repairs and maintenance. They also offer a 24-hour service if there are problems on the water.
The fishermen have to call the rescue number that we can resolve on call, but sometimes when the technical issues are not in a position to be solved during that time, we have to send our rescue boat to go, pull them back, or maybe change something, a component of the engine for that matter.
The batteries are equipped with GPS trackers so that the boats can be precisely located in case of emergency. Every new customer receives a free training session.
So it depends on
In just a few days, they learn the most important things. First theory, then practice on the water to get used to the e-motor. Joshua Maruka has been involved since the start and understands what the fishermen need.
The company will need to do some modification on only the distance that the electromobility cover. Like our fishermen, most of them try to go far distance.
Asobo is working to improve the situation. It's made contact with companies in Kenya and Uganda that refurbish used batteries. These could be rented out to the fishermen at a cheaper rate.
In these second life batteries, we will make them modular, so that also we mimic the current operations of our customers. That if a customer wants to go far, we give them more batteries. Then we charge this recharge fee per battery. Like you want to go far, we give you 4 batteries. You want to go shorter distance, we give you 1 or 2 batteries, and you pay for what you have used.
Around 25,000 boats are out on Lake Victoria every day. Many of them belong to Kenyan fishermen who use combustion engines, which pollute the lake and harm the fish population. Jared Otieno has already persuaded some other fishermen to switch to electric motors. But he and Asobo are still among the pioneers of e-mobility in Kenya. It will take many more like them to see a benefit to Lake Victoria and its fish.
I wouldn't mind taking a spin on that boat someday. Better equipment and boats are not the only challenge facing fishers today. Fish stocks are also declining all over the globe. But researchers in Israel have come up with a surprising solution that could make a huge difference. Here is this week's Doing a Bit.
The display racks are full and the selection plentiful, but the abundance is deceiving. The number of fish in our oceans has drastically declined. The UN Food and Agriculture Organization says 1/3 of all species are overfished and 60% are exploited to the maximum. But how about manufacturing fish instead to protect marine life? An Israeli food tech startup is showing the way, using a mass grown from cell cultures to 3D print fish fillets.
The flakiness of the fish is something that is unique for fish. When you cut a whole cut of meat, you can see the muscle fibers. It's really high densified. In the fish, the density is much lower. The flakiness is something that is much more easier to mimic. And with our patent-protected printing capabilities, we know to 3D print exactly the same texture and flakiness of a real fish.
The 3D printed fillets have made a splash. In the company's test kitchen, selected guests are served a unique fish dish. Can they tell the difference?
I can feel the same, almost the same experience of the fish structure in my mouth, and I'm also really amazed by the juiciness and also the kind of a buttery feel in my mouth.
At the moment, the printer can only produce 2 types of fish. But in a year's time, the manufacturer and a partner from Singapore want to bring printed fish products to the Asian market with a larger variety.
We've managed to do it for grouper and for eel. We have 3 other species in our pipeline that are also endangered sort of species that we'll be coming out with publicly in the next few months. And the goal is to build a repository so that the same hardware can manufacture products from any of these cell lines.
Printing fish instead of catching them. That could take some of the pressure off our oceans and their inhabitants, and allow fish stocks to recover and our oceans to be restored to their former glory.
And how about you? If you're also doing your bit, tell us about it. Visit our website, or send us a tweet. #DoingYourBit. We share your stories.
In our last report for today, we'll take a look at an ancient solution to a contemporary problem. Morocco has lost almost 3/4 of its palm groves in the last 10 years. That is bad news, but as we know, water is life. The rediscovery of an ancestral water management practice is giving hope to the people there.
Every Saturday, people flock to Gulmima's market to buy fruit, vegetables such as okra, olives, and a wide variety of dates. They're the main crop grown in the oasis around Gulmima, a Berber town in southeastern Morocco. The livelihoods of people in this arid region on the edge of the Sahara Desert rely on oases. These are under threat. Daoud Fanisi, an agricultural engineer who specializes in these green ecosystems, laments their environmental degradation.
The oases are fragile ecosystems because they're located in the Sahara Desert. When there's no precipitation here, agricultural production is directly affected. So after 2 or 3 years of drought, we already feel the problem.
In oases like this, people live from agriculture and raising livestock. But Morocco is suffering from desertification, fires, and the worst drought in decades. Rising temperatures and erratic rainfall have lowered river levels, increased evaporation, and caused storage dams to silt up. This has led to a 20% reduction in overall water resources in the last 30 years. To overcome water scarcity, farmers are restoring ancient irrigation systems known in Morocco as khetaras. Their underground canals make it possible to collect groundwater and enlist the force of gravity to deliver it to farm fields.
We're at a khatara located in Erfoud, in the province of Erachidia. This is a khatara that is more than 600 years old and is still operational. The khatara is important because it's a system that brings water from the mountains to the oases, thanks to the rains that come 2 or 3 times a year and manage to infiltrate the soil. The khatara retains the water for a long period of time. There is no evaporation, and the water that's collected at the level of the khatara is channeled directly to the field.
Khataras range from 2 to 15 kilometers in length. Their tunnels are gently sloped and descend as far as 10 meters below ground. Access shafts follow the khataras route from the water source to the reception basin. Located every 12 to 15 meters, these shafts allow for the clearing of blockages caused by sediment.
Each khatara is cleaned every year by the farmers themselves, as we can see here. Thanks to their spirit and ingenuity, they have long been able to maintain and safeguard this system so that it ensures the life of the oases.
The khataras are ruled by ancestral tradition. Customary water rights are inherited. The labor force provided by each user during construction determines how much water each can later consume. Every tunnel also has a guardian charged with assuring it functions well.
The khatara is very important to us. Thanks to it, we have water to drink, irrigate the crops, give to our livestock, and use for our domestic needs, like laundry and washing. This irrigation system is vital. Without it, we can't live here. There's simply no life.
The khataras help to keep oases like this alive. While more effort is needed to restore these old irrigation systems and increase groundwater levels, this ancient technology provides Moroccans with a novel way to adapt to climate change.
Water can be found everywhere on Earth, but less than 2.5% is available for human and animal consumption. This is a good reason to protect it better in the future. We hope you've gained something from watching today's special edition on water, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Goodbye from Uganda.
Bye, Sandra, and it's farewell from me too, Chris Elems in Ogun State, Nigeria. If you want to learn more about drought and other topics related to the environment, check out our social media pages. See you next time. Take care.